Hello. Well, I've got quite a straightforward project today. It's sorting out the straps on this kilt. They were made, it's a shame really, it's lovely cloth, this kilt, and it weighs a ton, but they just use ordinary old split leather straps, and after about 30 years they go a bit sort of dry and not very nice. They're also far too short because they're constantly on the sort of lower setting. And I think if you've had a 6-course dinner, you don't want it left on the lower setting. So I'm going to make them a couple of inches longer. It's not mine as it happens. But yeah, so that's the plan today, is to make 2 of these sorts of straps and to embed them in the seam on the kilt so it's all brought back to life. Now, I keep a odds and ends box for this sort of thing because I find it's really useful keeping offcuts of leather. And this is my great odds and ends box. I find these containers quite useful for storing this sort of stuff. And I've got lots of like thin levers in this one, and I do mean like 0.5 millimetre, a lot of those, but they've been invaluable for jobs. And then I found a couple of bits of black leather which would be suitable for these straps. I've got lots of different coloured bits of leather in here which are quite good fun, so at some point I must have a go at doing a project using lots of colours. Quite nice. Anyway, I find actually some of the sort of bags of scrap leather you can buy, because most of this is actually from Pittard's UK, and it's just snippets really of making bags and shoes and things. But I've made so many odds and end things with that. It's been really useful. It's quite a cheap way of getting some leather, and you get variety because you're getting all sorts of leather. So I've got 2 levers here. I was just looking at them both actually. The strap to be replaced, well, 2 straps, it's about 2.5 very roughly. I find these little dial thickness gauges really useful, just for, because you look at a bit of leather and it's quite hard often to see, is that a 2 millimetre, 2.5. And I mean, I know it's a split leather, so it won't be as strong as a top grain. So I've got quite a nice bit of top grain here, but it is under 2 millimetres. I think it would probably be strong enough because there's not any give on it, so I could use that, but I'm aware that it's a heavy garment, so I think I'm going to use this bit of buffalo. This is very strong, and looking at it, it's a bit thicker as well. It does vary in its thickness a bit more, but it's just over the 2 millimetre mark. So I think that will be quite suitable for this one. It's got a bit of a texture. I don't think that will matter because the old straps have a slight ruffling, and you can, if you get some bit of leather with texture like this, if you really want to reduce it, you can just tap it with a mallet and knock it down a bit. But I don't think I'll worry probably too much. So that's the material. I will simply cut the straps using a ruler and the usual one of these Daffer type cutters. I find them really good. Won't bother with a strap gauge because when it's a very short length of strap, the ruler's fine. So we'll get going. So I've actually put cutting mat now all over this table. This is an old kitchen table, but it's got a sort of self-healing cutting mat, which I find good. These straps, I've just checked them against the buckles that are on the kilt, and they've been done correctly, nicely. There's like a 1.5 millimetre, 1/16 of an inch gap. We want to replicate that, don't want them binding. So I'm going to cut them the same sort of width. So I'll just get this lined up. You can, if you want to do this, use 2 rulers. So you put 1 ruler, if I do it this way you'll see what I'm doing a bit better. You can put 1 ruler against the straight edge of the piece of leather, and this is a pretty straight edge on this one, and then put your bit of material down to be cut, butt it up against the edge of the ruler, press in with the other ruler, and you know you've got the same sort of width. And I'll just check that at each end because obviously it's all sliding around a little bit. these are actually rubber based rulers for cutting, which is quite useful. Yeah, so that's about the sort of width. The blades on these things don't really take out much, particularly if you have them at a very slight angle. So there you are, that's one of them. I think that will be alright. Yep, that's fine, that's going just like the other one, good on size. I think I'm going to need two because I want to make these straps longer. Yeah. Okay, so next job will be to trim off the ends. These ends are done with like a square off. That's okay. I personally prefer what you call the old English point. So it's a V. So I'm going to do that. So anyway, so that's my end done. I'll do the same on the other and then we'll mark out for the holes. So I've got my 20 kilogram anvil here. I call it an anvil, it's not really, it's a bit of anvil shaped object. It's not particularly hardened, but you can resurface it every now and again if you need to. But I find it very good for the leather work, so it's a 20 kilogram. The 10 kilogram ones aren't bad. They're lighter and more portable. This, as you get to 20 kilogram, it's getting a bit heavy to move around, but it does take out the sort of the thud. And this is just a bit of nylon block. So I'll go down, I've got a little punch here. This again is a Dixon's punch. Unfortunately they're not made now. What I like about the better quality punches, like this one, is they don't get stuck, and a little sort of widget of leather that comes out doesn't get stuck. Because what they've done, it's rather nice. They've, if you, that hole there was say 2 millimeters, they've flared it out inside here to like 3 millimeters. And what it means is your little divots all fall out fairly easily and you don't get your punch gummed up. I have got some other far cheaper punches like these, and the little divots of leather get stuck in them because they haven't been hollow ground out at the back. So if you're doing a lot of hole punching, it's quite nice to have one like this. Same idea. Hopefully I'll get a bit more accurate on this one. I wasn't totally accurate on the last one. I think I'm a little bit out of practice. I've not actually done any punching on the leather for quite a long time. For much of the winter I've been book writing on my sock knitting machine book and researching all of that, so it's quite nice to get out here in the workshop and actually do a bit of hole punching. We're on a tariff now with Octopus Energy in the UK, and at night time sometimes they pay you to use electricity. So I've got the workshop nice and warm. I had it all heating up overnight. Anyway, there me straps done, so they're ready for sewing on, and we'll do that next. I've pegged my straps into position here, and I'm just going to sew them on the post bed machine. Check that strap is straight. Yep, and along we go. So that's the straps nicely secured on there. I've given them a few rows there just to really hold it in nice and tight. A fairly wide needle spacing with each stitch, just because I don't want to overly pierce the leather. There's a balance, because if you get the stitches too close, you're obviously weakening the leather by sewing across it. But I've made it so it's a little bit of a bigger stitch. So buckles are all in, straps on, and that kilt is now back in service, which is good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that little project. So fairly quick, fairly easy one, but quite a nice little one, just trying out a few little different leather techniques in there. Okay, well, thanks so much for watching, and hope to see you in the next video. Okay, bye bye then.